Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something absolutely crucial if you really want to own your Bitcoin. Self-custody. We're moving past just seeing that number on an exchange, right? This is about actually grabbing the reins.
Yeah, taking control of your own private keys, getting into what's, well, fundamentally sovereign money.
Exactly. And look, whether you're maybe just dipping your toes into Bitcoin, just curious, or you're already thinking, how do I really secure this stuff? This chat is for you.
Absolutely. We're going to try and unpack the main ideas, pull out the important bits from what we've looked at, but hopefully without, making your head spin.
Right. So the mission today, pretty simple. Boil down the essentials of Bitcoin self-custody. We'll hit the keys, wallet types, security.
Transactions, UTXOs, the works.
Yeah. The goal is that by the end, you'll have a clearer picture of what really matters and feel hopefully a bit more empowered to take control.
Sounds good. Where should we start?
Let's start right at the foundation. You have the keys.
Okay, so the absolute core principle here, you hear it all the time in the Bitcoin space. Not your keys, not your coins.
Simple but powerful.
It really is. It's the bedrock. Holding that private key, that's what signifies true ownership. And it's not just about avoiding loss, though that's huge.
Right.
Holding your own keys, it fundamentally changes your relationship with your money. You're not trusting someone else anymore.
Which aligns with the whole Bitcoin idea, right? Peer-to-peer, no middleman.
Exactly. It's the antidote to counterparty risk. The chance that the exchange or whoever holds your Bitcoin, well, they could fail.
Like we saw with FTX, Celsius. Painful examples.
Very clear examples, unfortunately.
Okay, so this private key, what is it exactly? Is it like a password?
Think of it more like a super secret digital signature. Technically, it's a very long string of letters and numbers.
Right.
But most wallets, to make it user-friendly, represent it as usually a 12 or 24-word seed phrase, sometimes called a mnemonic phrase.
Based on that BIP 39 standard?
Yeah. That's the one. And this phrase, the sequence of words, it's incredibly powerful. It can literally regenerate your entire wallet, all your Bitcoin access.
Wow. Okay, so it's the ultimate master key. We saw that example phrase. Witch collapse, practice, feeds, shame open, despair, creek road again, ice least.
Yep, just a seemingly random bunch of words.
But that specific sequence, that controls the Bitcoin.
Precisely. Whoever has that sequence has the Bitcoin associated with it.
Scary. So how does this private key connect to, like, my public address, the one I give people?
Good question. It's a fascinating process, actually. Your private key is used to mathematically derive your public key.
Using that ECDSA thing, elliptic curve.
Elliptic curve digital signature algorithm, yeah. That's the cryptographic magic. Then that public key is put through a couple of hashing functions.
SHA 256 and PMD 160.
You got it. And those hashes create your public Bitcoin address, the one you share.
Okay, but the crucial part is it only works one way, right?
Right.
Private key makes public key an address.
But you absolutely cannot go backwards. You can't figure out the private key from the public information. That one-way function is fundamental to the security.
Like a mathematical trapdoor?
Kind of, yeah. And just to show you what a raw private key looks like, that example was E9873D796D87DC0. A long string of hex characters.
Yeah, definitely not something you'd memorize.
Exactly. Which is why those seed phrases are so vital. They make it manageable for humans.
Okay, got it. Keys are crucial. Seed phrases are the human-friendly version. Now, where do we actually keep these keys? Let's talk wallets. Sounds like there are options.
Oh, yeah, definitely options. And it's mostly about trade-offs, Convenience versus security. You can think of it like a spectrum.
Okay.
Running from what we call hot wallets on one end to cold wallets on the other.
Hot wallets. Sounds a bit like playing with fire.
Well, maybe a little. Hot wallets are basically any Bitcoin wallet that's connected to the internet.
Okay, so like apps on my phone. Or software on my computer.
Exactly. Mobile apps like Blue Wallet, Mune, Phoenix were mentioned. Desktop wallets like Electrum, Sparrow. Even browser extensions, though MetaMask came up, it's really more for Ethereum, not ideal for Bitcoin.
Right.
Their main advantage is convenience. Super easy, quick for sending and receiving, everyday use.
Like keeping cash in your pocket.
Perfect analogy. But the downside is, because they're online, they're more exposed to online threats.
Malware, phishing scams.
Yeah.
If your device gets hacked.
Precisely. The private keys are potentially vulnerable if your device security isn't top-notch.
Okay, so convenience comes with risk. What about the other end? Cold wallets.
Ah, yes. The deep freeze. Cold wallets are completely offline.
Totally disconnected.
Totally. This massively reduces the attack surface, right? If the keys aren't online, hackers have a much harder time getting to them.
Makes sense. So these are better for like long-term holding, HO dealing.
Definitely. Best for larger amounts you don't need to touch often. There are a few types. Hardware wallets are probably the most common.
Like Ledger, Trezor, Cold Card, those little USB things.
Yeah, exactly. They're physical devices purpose-built to store keys securely offline in a special chip, and they sign transactions without exposing the key. They do cost a bit, maybe $50 to $150, roughly.
An investment in security. What else is cold?
Well, there are paper wallets, literally printing out your keys, maybe as QR codes.
Wow, old school.
Very secure if done right, but kind of clunky for actually using your Bitcoin. And you have to be super careful generating them offline only, using tools like butaddress.org was mentioned, but only offline.
Right, risk and creation.
And then you have air-gapped devices. These take offline to the extreme. They never touch the internet. Transactions are signed using things like QR codes back and forth or maybe SD cards. Spectre DIY was an example.
So super secure, but maybe a bit more complex to use,
Yeah.
especially if you're new.
That's the trade-off, yeah. A steeper learning curve for maximum security.
Okay, hot, cold?
Yeah.
Any other types?
One more important category, multi-sig wallets. Multi-signature.
Multi-sig, sounds like you need a committee.
Hey, sometimes you do. The idea is you need more than one private key to approve a transaction.
Oh, okay.
Like maybe a 2 of 3 setup. Out of 3 possible keys, you need any 2 of them to sign off before the Bitcoin can move.
Interesting. Who uses that?
More advanced users, often.
Yeah.
More businesses. Or maybe for shared funds, like with collaborative custody setups. Unchained Capital was mentioned as a service that uses this.
So the big advantage is extra security.
Hugely enhanced security, yeah.
Yeah.
It gets rid of that single point of failure. If one key gets compromised somehow.
They still can't steal the funds without another key.
Exactly. Great for large amounts, business treasuries, distributing keys geographically. Lots of benefits.
Any downtides?
Can be more complex to set up initially, and transactions might be a bit slower because you need multiple signatures.
Makes sense. And just quickly, custodial versus non-custodial. Self-custody means non-custodial, right?
Absolutely critical distinction. Self-custody is non-custodial. You and only you hold the keys. If an exchange holds them, that's custodial.
Got it. Okay, keys, wallets. Check. Now the big one. How do we actually secure this stuff? Fort Knox mode.
Right, and this is where the responsibility really shifts to you. You are your own bank, so you're also your own security chief.
No pressure.
Ha! Well, the single most important piece is that seed phrase security, that 12 or 24 word recovery phrase.
The master key again. How do we protect that?
Back it up meticulously, write it down, on paper. Or even better, stamp it into metal.
Metal. Like, seriously.
Yeah, things like crypto steel, billfold, or just engraving on steel plates makes it resistant to fire, water, physical damage, things paper won't survive.
Okay. And where shouldn't we store it?
Anywhere digital, absolutely nowhere digital. No photos on your phone, no cloud storage like Google Drive or Dropbox, no emails, no text messages, ever.
Because those can get hacked.
Easily, hackers target those all the time. Physical backups only, and make multiple copies.
Multiple.
Redundancy. Store them in different secure locations. Maybe a safe at home, a bank vault. Consider different geographical locations if possible. Protects against fire, flood, theft in one place.
Okay, physical, multiple, separate, secure locations. What else?
Never, ever, ever share it with anyone, period. No legitimate service, no support person, nobody needs your seed phrase. If they ask, it's a scam. Run away.
Loud and clear.
And one more thing, test your backups.
Test them. How?
Try actually restoring your wallet using your written down seed phrase, maybe on a spare device. Make sure the words are correct, the order is right, and you actually know how to do it.
That's smart. Practice the fire drill before there's a fire.
Exactly. Better find a mistake during a test run.
Okay, what about those passphrases, the optional 25th word thing?
Right, BIP 39 passphrases. It's like adding your own secret word or phrase on top of the 12 or 24 words.
So extra security.
Yeah, it creates a completely separate hidden wallet. Even if someone finds your seed phrase without the exact passphrase you added, they can't access that hidden wallet. It's powerful.
But also another secret you absolutely must not lose or forget.
Definitely. More security, but also more complexity and responsibility. And don't forget basic physical security for the hardware wallet itself and the backups. Tamper-proof storage, fire-resistant if possible, not obvious hiding spots. Limit who can physically get near them.
Right. What about online behavior? OPSEC.
Operational security, very important. For significant transactions, maybe use a dedicated computer, one you don't use for random web surfing.
A clean machine.
Yeah. Consider using a VPN, maybe Tor for extra privacy. Be aware of your surroundings cameras, people looking over your shoulder.
Shoulder surfing. Classic.
Yeah. And phishing. Always be vigilant. Double-check website URLs. Use bookmarks. Verify receiving addresses carefully before sending. Be super suspicious of unsolicited emails or messages asking for keys or seeds.
Assume everyone asking is a scammer until proven otherwise.
Pretty much, yeah. It's safer. Also, keep your software updated. Wallet software, your operating system. Updates often contain crucial security patches.
Good point. And 2FA.
Two-factor authentication. Enable it wherever you can, especially on exchanges if you still use them. But remember,
Point 2FA on an exchange isn't self-custody.
exactly. It helps secure the exchange account, but the exchange still holds the keys. And finally, as we mentioned, for serious amounts, really think about multisig. It protects against single points of failure.
Okay, wow. That's a comprehensive security checklist. Now let's switch gears slightly. UTXOs. Sounds technical. Why do we need to know about these?
Yeah, unspent transaction outputs. It sounds a bit like jargon, but understanding the basics is actually pretty helpful for managing your Bitcoin effectively in self-custody.
Yeah.
See, Bitcoin doesn't work like your bank account, where there's just a single balance. Instead, it tracks individual pieces of Bitcoin you've received. These are the UTXOs.
Pieces of Bitcoin. Like digital coins.
Kind of like that, or think of them like individual banknotes in your wallet. If someone sends you 0.5 BTC, you get a 0.5 BTC UTXO linked to your address. If someone else sends you 0.2 BTC later, you get another separate 0.2 BTC UTXO.
So my balance is just the sum of all these separate UTXOs I control.
Exactly. Now, when you want to spend Bitcoin, say send 0.6 BTC.
My wallet needs to combine UTXOs.
Precisely. It looks at your available UTXOs. Maybe it uses that 0.5 BTC one and part of the 0.2 BTC one. Those become the inputs to your new transaction.
Okay.
The transaction then creates outputs. One output sends the 0.6 BTC to the recipient. And because you use 0.5 plus 0.2, 0.7 BTC as input, but only sent 0.6.
There's change left over. 0.1 BTC.
Right. Minus the transaction fee, of course. That remaining amount is sent back to you in a new UTXO, usually to a fresh address your wallet controls. That's your change.
Okay, the banknote analogy helps. So why does understanding this matter for me managing my own keys?
Few key reasons. First, transaction fees. The fee isn't based on the amount of Bitcoin you send, but the data size of the transaction.
And more UTXOs used as inputs means more data?
Generally, yes. Each input adds data. So if you have tons of tiny UTXOs, like digital dust,
Spending them could get expensive in fees.
it could, especially if network fees are high. So sometimes it makes sense when fees are low to consolidate lots of small UTXOs into one bigger one. This is called consolidation.
Proactive fee management.
Exactly. Advanced wallets like Sparrow or Wasabi even let you manually select which UTXOs to spend. That's called coin control.
Interesting. What else? Privacy.
Yeah, privacy is another angle. When you combine UTXOs from different addresses you control into one transaction, you're linking those addresses on the blockchain.
Which could potentially de-anonymize you more easily.
It could, yeah. So being mindful of which UTXOs you spend can help maintain better privacy. And definitely avoid reusing addresses. Get a fresh one for every payment you receive. Some wallets let you label UTXOs too, which helps track where funds came from.
Okay, and understanding change helps avoid confusion.
Definitely. Knowing that change comes back to a new address your wallet controls prevents you from thinking funds are lost when you see a transaction sending less than the input UTXO value.
Got it. UTXOs are the building blocks affecting fees and privacy. Now, walk us through sending Bitcoin with self-custody. What happens under the hood?
Okay, so you hit send in your wallet. First, it uses your private key to create that digital signature for the transaction.
Proving ownership without revealing the key itself.
Exactly. Then it selects the UTXOs needed to cover the amount you want to send, plus the fee. Those are the inputs.
Yeah.
It defines the outputs, the recipient's address and amount, and your change address and amount, if any.
Okay.
Then the wallet bundles all this up, the inputs, outputs, signature, and broadcasts it to the Bitcoin network.
Into the mempool, the waiting room.
Yep, the mempool. It's a pool of unconfirmed transactions waiting for miners.
And the miners pick it up from there.
Correct. Miners validate the transaction, check the signature, make sure you actually own the UTXOs, etc. If it's valid, they include it in the next block they're building.
And once it's in a block, that's one confirmation.
Yes. And each new block added after that is another confirmation, making it progressively more secure and irreversible.
How are fees decided again? You said size and congestion.
Yeah, primarily transaction size in bytes and how busy the network is. More demand for block space means higher fees to get included quickly. Fees are usually quoted in satoshis per byte or sats per vbyte.
And tools like mempool.space help estimate.
They do. You can see the going rates. Most wallets also estimate fees for you, offering options like low, medium, high priority, and there's that RBF thing.
Replace by fee if your transaction is stuck.
Right. If you set too low a fee and it's not confirming, some wallets let you replace it with a new version that has a higher fee to incentivize miners.
Handy. And the golden rule when sending.
Double check, triple check that receiving address.
Because once it's sent,
It's gone. Bitcoin transactions are irreversible. Sending to the wrong address is usually permanent loss. Use QR codes, copy-paste carefully, maybe send a tiny test amount first if you're unsure.
good advice. Okay, we've covered a ton of ground. Keys, wallets, security, UTXOs, transactions. As we wrap up, what are the absolute must-remember takeaways on self-custody?
Well, look, first off, self-custody. It might not be for everyone, right? Especially not immediately. There is a learning curve.
It can seem daunting.
It can. But, and this is the big but, if you genuinely want true ownership of your Bitcoin, if you want that financial sovereignty, it's essential. You have to take that step eventually.
Like learning to drive, you said. Needs effort, but unlocks freedom.
Exactly. It requires being intentional, educating yourself, testing things out, and taking the security aspect very seriously. It's not something to do casually with significant amounts.
It really is about taking back control, isn't it?
It is. And it's more than just technical steps. It's a mindset shift. You're moving away from trusting intermediaries back to direct ownership.
Aligning with the whole Bitcoin ethos.
Perfectly. Decentralization, trust minimization. Think about what it means to actually be your own bank, the resilience that gives you, and the network as a whole.
That's a powerful way to frame it. So this deep dive, hopefully, has illuminated that path from keys to UTXOs.
And the encouragement for you, the listener, is maybe start small. Learn, understand, choose a setup that feels right for you right now, security-wise.
And never forget the core message.
Not your keys.
Not your coins.
Yeah.
Guard them like the digital gold they represent.
Yeah. And hopefully this also sparks some thought about the deeper side of it, reclaiming that sovereignty and the responsibility that comes with it.
Definitely food for thought.
Yeah.
And speaking of thoughts, we'd love to hear yours. What are your biggest questions or maybe concerns still lingering about self-custody?
Yeah, what parts are you curious to explore more? Maybe diving deeper into multisig, or comparing specific hardware wallets, privacy tools like CoinJoin.
Let us know. Your feedback definitely helps shape where we go next.
Absolutely. We could definitely explore those areas in future deep dives.
For sure. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive.
It was great digging into this.
Until next time,
Well,
stay sovereign, stay secure.